the program. So joining us today is Dr. Ben Chukwu. Dr. Ben Chukwu is the head of accidents and emergency department at one of the major general hospitals in Saudi Arabia. Dr. Ben is also the CEO of Sterigo Limited and the chairman of Save Lives, First Initiative, Global Initiative. Dr. Ben, thank you for joining us today and welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Nice having you and seeing your face once again.
Yeah,
pleasure is mine. You're fine.
So, Dr. Ben, we saw that video that was trending, I mean, that didn't sit well with you. Yeah. So before we continue, I would like to share that video so that our audience can actually watch that video so that it's going to form the premise of our program this evening. A quick one so that I can share the program. I can share the video.
All right.
All right. All right.
Well, I can get the audio. I can hear his voice. I don't know if that is same with everybody or it's just me. Prostate cancer is one of the smallest grade. One of the ways we can reverse this is sexual activity. And we should not just be one man, one woman, because it has never been us. That's on Africa. That was started for economic reasons in the European American sphere. We are African. My grandparents, Dr. Chen, had 21 wives. In the defense of women, what I say is what the left hand does, don't let the right hand do. You are not going to bring the other woman to your marital home. You want to have your other woman on the contract. You call her, she doesn't call you. She doesn't disrespect your home. So your woman is still your hand. Then you know why you're doing it, and your woman is on your side. She realizes that you must get your 21 times. And if for some reason she's not able to get it for you, she knows where you are.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Ben, are you still there? Dr. Ben. Okay. Actually, the premise of today's program was formed on debunking some of the myths that Dr. Rashid Abbasi, the chief medical director of one of the men's clinics somewhere in Nigeria, he raised some facts. He not facts actually. Dr. Ben has come out to debunk some of the things he raised. He's talked about in this video. We want to get Dr. Ben's professional opinion on some of the issues he raised. Dr. Ben, I don't know if you're back, but we are ready for you now. Okay, just before Dr. Ben joins us, reconnects back to us, let's talk about prostate cancer for a bit, because the premise of today's program is probably prostate cancer. What is prostate cancer? And What are some of the myths associated with prostate cancer? These are some of the things we'll be talking about today. For starters, prostate cancer, according to the little research I did before coming, there are several premises about the cancer, but cancer can be categorized as in situ, localized, regional, or distant, depending on how far it has spread. But for prostate cancer, it usually starts with a growing on the prostate gland of the man. I would have loved Dr. Ben to show light more on this, but I'm hoping he joins us back really soon. Now, prostate cancer is a type of cancer that occurs when abnormal cells grow in the prostate gland, which is a small walnut-shaped gland in the male reproductive system. Now, the first few symptoms of prostate cancer is frequent urination, especially at night. When you notice frequent urination, you should go check yourself and check yourself out to know if you have developed prostate cancer. Seek a doctor. The second symptom you need to look out for is weak urine flow. Another symptom you need to also look out for is pain or burning when urinating, loss of bladder or bowel control. That is, you cannot control your bowel when you are urinating. These are some of the symptoms. Dr. Ben, are you back?
I'm so sorry. I think it was my network that fluctuated. I think that's a glitch. I don't know why it happened, but I think I'm back. I could hear you. I could hear you, just that you were not hearing me. It was,
all right.
unmute.
Thank you for joining us once again.
All right. Thank you so
the
much.
video, right?
Okay. The video is on?
Yeah, I for quite some time. Okay. I'm assuming you've already watched the video so that we don't go back to it again.
Yeah, I had watched the video before now. Even so when you played it now,
there was some particular
but I've watched it before, so I heard what he said.
Okay. You know, there were some things he said, he raised in that video, some of the things you that didn't quite sit well with you. And I'm going to be asking the questions one at a time, pointing at the key things he mentioned in the video. The first one is that he said men are biologically polygamous in nature, and that is why a man should not be with one woman because they are wired to be polygamous in nature. Is there any scientific basis for this notion, Dr. Ben?
It's really surprising that, people will make some comments and it will begin to trend, and a lot of people will believe it without sitting back to think and ask themselves, how? See, if you know how to ask questions about whatever anybody says, you will hardly be deceived. Now, there is no scientific basis for that statement. Let me ask you a question. When you say biologically wired, what does that mean? It means you are either anatomically, physiologically, or biochemically, wired or structured to be polygamous. Now, tell me how a man who has only one single penis is anatomically wired to be polygamous. If the creator or if the nature had wanted this man to be polygamous, then he will have multiple penises. That is number one. Anatomically, you are not. You are created to be monogamous. Now, ask me, why is it that once a man leaves and crosses over to another person, a lot of problems arise? Emotional problems, medical problems, infections, that many of them lead to death. I mean, why does it happen? If a man is wired to be polygamous, then there will be no issue with crossing over to different women. So, but anatomically, there's nothing that can tell you that a man is wired to be polygamous. What actually happens is that the society has lost values. Values like honesty, integrity, decency, chastity, those values that are treasured so high, has been lost, has been eroded by the society. Because of it, people have different views. People begin to learn things that are actually abnormal. You see, today, if I come out and tell you that this white paper is black, it will begin to trend because it's absurd. It's absurd to see something that everybody sees white, and someone says, I can prove it that is black. Someone tells you that I can walk with my head down and my legs up. And everybody will be interested. That's what is happening. Absurd things are being said and the painful thing is that medical professionals are joining the trend to dish out junks, to dish out things that are absurd, things that are unimaginable. See, let me ask you a question. If a man says, a man is wired to polygamous and is encouraging it and is supporting it, to be honest with you, the first question I'll ask is that, did this person actually pass through medical school at all? Because even in your first year medical school, you will be taught that one of the, in fact, the worst social habits, one of the most dangerous social habits anybody can practice is to have multiple sexual partners. Whether you call it polygamy, whether you call it prostitution, whether you call it side chick, they're the same. Let's not be confused with words, semantics, call it different names. It is prostitution. And somebody wants to encourage it. This is the most dangerous behavior known to medical science. And I'll prove it to you as we go on. So man is not wired to be polygamous. Man is wired to be monogamous. Let me stop there because that's where your questions are. As we go on, we will unravel other things.
Yeah, when you say, can we say that our parents or back in the day where people had 2 or more wives, our grandparents, great-grandparents, that predisposition to marry 1 or more wives, is it that it was a natural instinct for them to have 1 or 2 wives? So
my brother, thank you so much. It is really funny also to think, there are a lot of misconceptions. The society actually needs to be re-educated. A lot of false premises are sent out, and people swallow it, hook, line, and sinker, without thinking it through, without finding out whether it is actually true. Who told you that our parents were polygamous? How did you find out? Go through history. Go through history. More than 90% of people in the society during our great-grandparents' time were monogamous. The people that were polygamous were the wealthy, the oppressive kings and rulers. Check the history. There are books on that. There is Polygamy by one John Brooke. There is also Oxford book on polygamy. The history of polygamy, it is not African. It's a global thing. Because that's one of the things he said, that polygamy is African. It is not African. It's a global thing. Go and read it. Research on it. You will find out several books, several articles, several things published. India, Africa, even in 19th century America, they were polygamous. So, and this polygamy is not everybody in all the society where they are studied. It is not everybody. It is a minor fraction. Those oppressive rulers, those terrorists, in every society you have people who became so wealthy, and they have thugs, they have hefty men, they have so much money. And I tell you the truth, most of those women, their wives, some of them are taken by force. They oppress the father or even a husband to a pretty wife and take the wife by force, and he has nothing to do about it. The real thing, which was the culture of our fathers, is actually monogamy, and it is a popular practice. But what happened is that these outlaws who are rich or wealthy, they will break the natural laws, they will break it, and then nobody can do anything because they're wealthy. Just like what you are seeing today. You have a system of governance or politics, and they are oppressing the people. You can't do anything because they have the army, they have the gun, they are wealthy. There's nothing you can do, even though you don't like what they are doing. Now, let me also say that polygamy is actually a primitive practice. If you know the nature of inanimate things, negative charges attract. That is the beginning of because it is primitive. It is illegal. Who are not developed. They are the ones that practice polygamy. The more you get civilized,
Well, I think we've lost Dr. Ben there, but he has made some really, really salient points before that disconnection. Dr. Ben, I hope you fix your network. Okay, I think he's back. Can you hear me, Dr. Ben?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Please continue. You were making some really valid points.
So I said polygamy is actually primitive. It actually stems from the inanimate things that, electrons and protons, they attract. It's just like that. It's a natural thing. Now, you become
Dr. Ben?
the more civilized you
Dr. Ben?
I am back, but I think maybe you will give me like 30 seconds. Let me call for help to change my network source. Maybe change it over. Let me call someone to come and change the network source so I can continue without hitches. But we can continue until he comes.
Okay.
Let me just, yeah.
Okay.
Chidera, just come.
While you're waiting for Dr. Ben, in case you have any questions about prostate cancer or men's health generally that you would like Dr. Ben to tackle, please drop your questions in the chat box so that we can take the questions and Dr. Ben can address it.
I don't know if it's the internet that is gonna mute.
You're okay now, Dr. Ben? Now, there are several myths that have been associated with the whole prostate cancer. We've heard them fly all this while, we've heard people say things like a man must ejaculate as much as 21 times in a month. You must have regular sex and all of these things in order to reduce the risk of prostate cancer. I mean, for some people who do not know, for a lot of people who are not medically inclined or in the medical profession, we've actually let these things fly and we've actually believed these things, right? So the purpose of this program is to debunk some of the myths associated with prostate cancer, what is true and what is false about prostate cancer, because a lot of the reasons, ejaculating 21 times a month and all of that has been used as it's been sort of a cheating apologetic sort of arguments, so that people can fly. But let's hear. The purpose of this program is to hear the medical reasons, associated with the whole, what is true and what is false. And Dr. Ben will be back in a short while to give us the nitty-gritty of what this is about. I think Dr. Ben is back.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think I was saying something about polygamy being a primitive practice. I think I've already overemphasized that. It is not, it has no scientific basis. It should never be supported by medical science. Because let me be honest with you. I said it before and I have to reiterate that. Polygamy or multiple sexual partners is if not, I think is one of the most dangerous lifestyle that anybody can adopt. Why do I say so? If someone involves in multiple sexual behavior, it is risky to the society. In fact, if you ask me, I will request that such people who who have side chicks, who patronize prostitutes, who have multiple sexual partners should actually be monitored or should be prosecuted because they are actually constituting a problem, a risk to the society. Is it the STI, the burden of the economic impact of STI? If you pick just one like the HIV, you know what the problem, the amount of money the government all over the world have spent on that. You know the workforce that has been lost. You know the number of lives it has taken. You take another one, cervical cancer. You now take there are many. Even ordinary kissing is a problem because some oncogenic viruses are transmitted and people take it in. In fact, it gets worse even when they begin to use the unnatural holes in the body like the erectile to do sex. And that takes, it's unimaginable that human beings will be behaving that way. Very low level, very primitive lifestyle. And then people will be trying to justify it. The truth is that if you talk about the health impact of these things, it is dangerous and nobody should be talking about it. But let's go to the question. Let's go to the question so that we can go with it.
Thank you for what you just the breakdown you just gave us. But there's a second point he mentioned, Dr. Rabas, in the Dr. Ken's program. There's something he made mention of. He said, let me try to get his exact voice, that if a man has erectile dysfunction and you bring a woman that is entirely new to him, that erectile dysfunction will disappear. The problem will be suddenly cured. Is there any truth to this idea, or is this just some kind of fallacy that has been let to fly?
Thank you. You used the right word. It's obvious fallacy. It's fallacy. Let me tell you the truth. Erectile dysfunction may either be organic, that is physical. That means what caused it is a structural thing. It may be a disease, it may be the blockage of arteries, it may be because of high cholesterol, it may be because of cardiovascular disease, it may be because of diabetes with angiopathies and neuropathies. These are things that make the man, that has made the man unable to achieve erection or sustain erection. Now, the other aspect is that it may be psychological. Psychological because of pressure, stress, troubles, worries, and so many other things. Generalized anxiety disorder that has filled our society because of the socioeconomic factors. You talk about depression because of this, a lot of pressure everywhere. If these things happen, if you don't correct the problem, you cannot. What he was talking about is not erectile dysfunction. That actually tells you that there is a misunderstanding. He actually misunderstood what erectile dysfunction is. And it's pathetic because it's someone who interfaces with men who need help. Imagine a man that needs help and your suggestion to him is to do things that worsen his situation. The honest truth is that erectile dysfunction can be caused by multiple sexual partners. Having multiple sexual partners contracting the disease will lead to erectile dysfunction. So it is like going to someone to give you a solution to your problem, and the person gives you a prescription that worsens your problem. So if there is nothing, erectile dysfunction it's a structural thing, you treat it. It's a psychological thing, you seek the help of mental health experts. They'll answer you, they'll educate you, they'll give you drugs that needs to be taken, and you become cured. Then if it is a structural thing, cardiovascular, you meet your cardiologist, you go to the hospital, and they will take the history and check what the cause of erectile dysfunction is. Do the test, evaluate it, wherever it is coming from. These things will be discovered from the history, from the examination, from the tests that will be run. That is the standard medical practice. Whatever that man, Dr. Basi, was saying, I don't know where he picked it from. Initially, when I heard him, I wanted to ask if he's actually a doctor, because even my first-year medical students will not speak like that. In fact, if I ask you and you recommend that, you fail the exam. If you're going through medical training and you say that, you fail automatically. So I wonder where he picked it from. Or maybe the interest to market his center, or to make money, or the media house wants to get money, or they want to advertise indirectly. I don't know what the reason is. But the truth is, no reasonable medical doctor will recommend having the other woman, as he calls it, or having extramarital affair in order to cure erectile dysfunction. Now, I will suggest something that is practical to us and medical. Evidence-based guidelines seen in all the websites of all well-known medical bodies, from the American Association of Urology Association, from American Society of Reproductive Health, talk about the NAUS, Nigerian Urological Association, talk about the WHO, talk about the EUA, European Urology Association. They have their website. Go there and browse. Look at the website. Look at the guidelines for managing erectile dysfunction. You will not see such recommendation. I can show you, you can go around and you can check. What he was talking about is that a man who has fed his heart with porn and other things, and maybe because of some unrealistic things he has watched, his wife no longer appealed to him, and another person comes. The pressure, the tension, the emotional things that made him unable to perform it while he was with his wife. Both of them share the problem in the house. So he is not stimulated when the wife is there. Then he sees another person who makes him laugh, and he momentarily, transiently forgets those problems that take away his mind from lovemaking. Then all of a sudden, he sees erection, and he now calls that he didn't have erectile dysfunction. He was only enjoying the second part of marriage. Marriage is not all about lovemaking and sex. There are two parts. You enjoy yourself, and then you also have responsibility. When the responsibility fills your head, tackle it, solve it. Even if you don't have sex at that point in time, it has nothing to do with your love for your wife and your family. It has nothing to do with the health, that your health, prostate health, or anything he calls it. It has nothing to do. The frequency of sex has nothing. Absolutely. I don't know if I should allow you to ask this question. I should just go on, because
no, thank you very much. You've made some really enlightening comments. You know, if you didn't say these things, I mean, people like me would not know that. We would just like bite hook, line, and sinker. You know, the saying that in marriage, you know, the excitement is usually at the peak at the beginning of the marriage. Then along the line, the excitement dwindles. And when we think of what Dr. Abasi said, he was like when since that excitement with your wife has dwindled, it's not that you don't love your wife, but you're meeting someone new. So the excitement is at the peak.
I will not allow you to finish.
You have just said that
that statement is actually very insensitive. Do you really feel for the opposite sex, for the other sex, that you will say because you are not having that spark that you had originally, then you ignore her emotional state, you ignore her self-esteem, you ignore her life and her health, you ignore all those and become so selfish to now step outside to please yourself elsewhere, and after that you come back and abandon and leave the woman. Ask you a question. Do you think that a side chick somewhere that you felt, don't call me, I will only be the one to call you, you think that person will be faithful to you? Oh, it will just be you alone that has her as a side chick. When she cannot call you, she can't talk to you, she can't reach you, she can't come to you when she's in trouble, when she has need? Or do you think that when you distribute your resources for 10, 5, 6, 7, several side chicks, that the pressure that makes you to have erectile dysfunction will not increase? You think the infections you get from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people mixed together has not made you the what do you call it? The warehouse of diseases. The truth is, it is just as I said at the beginning, it is absurd to hear people, not just people, but doctor, open mouth and recommend multiple sexual partners. In fact, such what I've told you, apart from, in fact, it is even higher than cigarette smoking, tobacco smoking. It is after that, tobacco becomes the second risky behavior. The first is having multiple sexual partners. And I said that even a first-year medical student knows what I am saying. Nurses know what I am saying. So why would somebody come to the media to preach us something that is completely opposite? It's like turning a man to walk on his head.
Dr. Ben.
Our regulatory bodies in medical practice to look closely. All right, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ben. There was another thing he mentioned in that video. He said, men who have more than one wife tend to live longer than those with just one wife. That is, those in a monogamous relationship. How true is this? Is this another fallacy that has been let to fly once more?
Thank you so much. You see why I felt so bad. Let me be honest with you. I'm such a passionate person who would not want the family to be destroyed. Once you destroy the family, you destroy the society. When you destroy the society, you've destroyed everything. And this is what is happening. The society has been under assault with false information, with abuse of people who ought to know, abusing the society. Emma, that was purely false. Yes, in 2016, there was a research that I think it was a study that studied the life expectancy of men in Africa. And they took few studies from several places. Their sample was not rich, has a lot of flaws. There were a lot of confounding factors that we are not dealt with, that we are not considered in that study. It was flawed. And it says that people that have more than one wife actually live longer than, that was a study. Then there was another one in 2017 that was inconclusive. Then there was 2020, a study that tells us that all health parameters, the outcome of health parameters, and this particular study I'm referring to was actually conducted taking samples from 14 African countries with wide population, more representative, a better study. And it says that all health parameters are found to be worse in people. I don't know if you can hear me, man.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so that all health parameters, all those indices were worse in people who have multiple wives, more than 2-3 wives. It was a better one, a more recent study that this person decided to pick just one. You see, they say that in the scripture, people can use the Bible to do whatever. You can preach one, you can do good, you can see anything. That's what people do. Depending on how you interpret it. You can decide to pick one irrelevant, poorly conducted study. Now, let me tell you one of the major flaws of that study that he was quoting. They talk about people who have 2-3 wives. They did not consider the financial status of those people, their access to health when they get sick, the health status of the wives of those people they were studying. They just picked how many wives they have and how many wives. And so because of it, there are several confounding factors that were not taken care of. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So that was a poorly conducted study. And somebody from Nigeria decided to pick such poorly conducted study without critiquing it and went ahead to use it to form a premise to misinform the society, not just Nigerians. So please, I want to advise that before next time you want to pick anything, you want to take a study, look at the study, check how it was conducted, where it was conducted, what is how can, in fact, the journal you are picking from, what kind of journal is it that published such thing that you're coming to base information to the society on? So please, I would rather not dwell on that. The truth is that it is false. The finding actually is that if you have multiple wives, you are exposed to more diseases. You have more financial loss. You have problems. You die early. That's the one that's more recent and the one that is that appeals to common sense. Not that they live longer. That should be thrown away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ben. That was truly, truly eye-opening and enlightening. Thank you very much for breaking it down for us. I have one more question. This one actually interested me. He said, in a one-man, one-woman relationship, that sexual activity usually decreases after the age of 50. which in turn increases the chances of prostate cancer in men. You know, what's your take on this particular one? What do you have to say?
Well, on this, you know what I would advise someone who wants to run clinic for men. Do you understand? For men health. I want the person to bring a qualified urologist and let him work in the clinic, and he will seek advice from him. Maybe he is a specialist in internal medicine also, and he needs to know. Do you know why I'm saying this? Is that, yes, 65% of prostate cancers occur in men that are above 65 years. Is a common statement, 65, the rule of 65. 65% of prostate cancer occur in men. But the reason is not what he told you. The reason, in fact, the major thing that, in fact, not just in prostate cancer, most cancers is genetic makeup. That's why in family history, if you have someone in your family that has that cancer, the likelihood of having it is higher. So it is not the reason that he gave. The reason includes the age itself because of changes, degenerative changes, defense mechanism, immunity dwindling, and development of cells. His pleasure becomes more, which is what the beginning of the cancer, more when you are getting, like you are aging, a lot of things age. But the main thing is your genetic predisposition. Do you have something in your gene that predisposes you to cancer? Do you understand? There is something else he said about, I can't remember. So that since you're rounding off, I think we should be able to touch many of the things he says. That let me say this: the frequency of sex anywhere in medical world, they will tell you the only time you are told number of sex, you are encouraged to have 2 to 4. Americans will say 3 to 4. Some Europe will say 2 to 3 or 2 to 4. So it's a range a week. And why? It's only for procreation. Couples trying to achieve pregnancy. That's the only time you are told. Think about the relationship between frequency of ejaculation, and that is actually utter rubbish. There's nothing, you can't find it anywhere. Now, there is something that may have confused him. Let me help him a little. What confused him was a study that was also published in Journal of Urology. I think it was 2018 or 2019. That article says that the risk of prostate cancer is reduced by frequent ejaculation, more than like 21 or more. The risk, he doesn't understand the difference between reversal of prostate cancer and the risk of developing prostate cancer. It's like someone's mother or sister, auntie has breast cancer. The likelihood of developing breast cancer is high. So it doesn't mean that he must develop or she must develop breast cancer. I don't know if you can hear me, or am I lost? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can
Can
hear
you
you,
hear
sir.
me? So
I can hear you, Doc.
the risk is just the possibility, probability that this person is likely going to develop it. But still, that is one of the rare studies that the overwhelming evidence will tell you there is no relationship between frequency of this. What is important is, let me say this, sex is the easiest way to cut your lifespan by half. Multiple sexual partners, by the way, is the easiest way to cut your life expectancy by half. It is also the easiest way to contact a lot of diseases, including cancers. See, my advice is that people should take sex natural and limit themselves to a single sexual partner. Who should be their spouse? Who should be their spouse? Let me put it that way. Let me not go further. Because the more you mix with other people, look at the burden of one of the commonest cancer in female is cervical cancer, with so much burden and morbidity. And it's because of sex, human papillomavirus. There are many oncogenic viruses that cause a lot of cancers. And when you contact any of these diseases and your immunity is dropped, what happens? You can develop cancer anywhere in the body, from colon cancer, from lung to heart. In fact, even cardiovascular disease is more in people who have multiple sexual partners. So I can't really control myself when I first saw that teaching. I felt so angry in my spirit, but I said, well, this man needs to be educated. I think that's what I'm doing today. If there is any other question, maybe you ask. Thank you, Ima.
Thank you very much, Doc. Of course, it's been really enlightening and educative. I mean, having this conversation with you, enlightening a lot of people. I think there are several things that have been misconstrued about, the idea of prostate cancer. Several misconceptions out there. I think this might be the platform for you to actually educate us the symptoms. What should a person look out for? Just generally about prostate cancer, men's health. Just before we wrap up, a few words about the facts and not the fallacies.
What our advice, there is something else I remembered now that he said. He told us that prostate cancer is one of the slowest growing cancers. And therefore, when somebody they find it at that early time, they advise the person to keep firing, to keep having sex. If you can remember such a statement, it was very, very irresponsible to make that statement. I'm sorry to use that word, but that is a fact. Because once you detect a sign, but let me address what you said first. Our advice all men, once you are 40 years and you're African, once you're 40 years, please go for your prostate checkup. Meet a urologist. He will take a history from you and establish your risk level. He will examine you and find out if everything is normal. Then he can equally go further depending on what he sees. He will do your PSA. And also further, he can even do ultrasound, what we call truth or transrectal ultrasound of the prostate, to define the structures and what it is like. There are screening for Africans. I would advise people to start from 40, but some people say 40 to 45. But I would advise it's better to err on the side of caution from 40. But for Caucasians who have lower risk, they start from 50. Who have high risk, like you have people in your family that have it, they start earlier. That's why I advise 40. You understand? So Africans are also known to have higher risk. So what I'm trying to say here is that these are those, when he says it is a slow-growing cancer, it is actually deceptive and it's dangerous. Yeah, prostate cancer is heterogenic. Or heterogeneous, let me put it that way, heterogeneous. It is not a homogeneous cancer. So some of them are slow growing, some are intermediate growing, some are very aggressive and rapidly growing. So when you deceive people, letting them know it is a slow growing, and you keep them instead of them seeking proper care, optimal care from qualified urologists, you keep them and be addressing them to the firing so that it will reverse. I mean, that is dangerous. This dangerous practice. We pray to get it early. Some of them will qualify for radical prostatectomy, and then they will be cured. Some of them, the hormonal therapy, it will be cured. So for the symptoms you ask, please, any man who notices what we call bladder outlet symptoms, frequency of urine, the number of urination you see yourself go to pass urine in a day more, especially in the night, you see yourself pass, getting up to 2, 3 times, 4 times to go and urinate. Please run to your urologist. I'll not give I can't, it is not my specialty. And I will not treat you. I'll refer you to a urologist. That is professional practice. It's actually unprofessional to sit down and be handling something in an area that is not your specialty. It's unprofessional. So that advice, thing that people do, you have a hospital, you handle men, you tell them whatever you don't know, that is unprofessional. And I will advise people doing that to cease from it. So you notice that frequency, urgency. Oh, you want to urinate and you feel like before you could get to the toilet already, is almost coming out. It's urgency. You understand? In the night, you feel like you're urinating more. Maybe you notice blood in your urine, any drop of blood, or you notice your blood stain. All these are symptoms that when you see, you understand, you should run to your doctor, who will now evaluate you properly by taking the history, by examining you, by taking the tests, and then come to a conclusion, assess you and classify you, and not the group you belong to, and then what should be done for you. Everybody are not treated the same way. I've told you it's a heterogeneous disease, so you don't treat, everybody is not served the same pill. You give some people some watchful waiting, active surveillance. Some others, you go and operate. And who will do this evaluation is the urologist. So I advise men begin to take your health serious, please throw away the myth that you need to have sex many times. It's dangerous. Also, throw away that into the pit that you need to have extra girlfriend or have extra person or side chick. I call them prostitutes. Who is a prostitute? Gets money, gives sex in exchange. And that is what you do. You give them money, you take care of them, they give you sex. And that is what somebody is advocating in 21st century, not any other person, but a medical doctor.
Very sad. Well, we've heard from Dr. Ben. You know, you've heard the advice he has given. As men, once you turn the age of 40, go and get yourself checked, know your history, so that the medical practitioners will know how to best advise you on how to take care of the prostate cancer, if there's any. Dr. Ben, thank you for sharing your expertise and helping us debunk some of the myths associated with prostate cancer, some of the lies that we let fly for a very long period of time, and for talking about men's health. It's been an enlightening conversation. And I'm sure.
Can you allow me to drop one statement? One very important statement.
Of course.
Please, I want to tell the world, men should stop anal sex. It is unnatural. It is dangerous. It is terrible. It has no, the anus is not made for sex, and people should stop it. It's part of the reason why you continue to give trauma to the prostate. Immediately you put hand into the anus and turn your finger, what you meet in front is the prostate. And when they keep choking it with different materials, with their long pricks, and with different, I've told you, do you know the brush for washing toilet has been removed from a man's anus? People do terrible things. People do terrible things. And that is where they traumatize, frequent trauma to the prostate. It's not healthy. It's part of the things that stimulate it. Prostatitis, I didn't say, prostate disease is not just prostate cancer. Benign hyperplasia, prostatitis, and prostate cancer. From prostatitis, depending on the cause and organism and how frequent and so on, can lead to terrible things. Now, what else is also dangerous about this life this man was advocating? So the commonest problem that incapacitates men is what we call urethral stricture from urethritis. Blocks that opening where urine come from. If you see a man who has urethral stricture, you weep. Pain, the pushing, the pain of the treatment, and even the condition, you weep for them. This is what we should be advocating. What causes it? Having sex with different people, having sex with men, through the anus, having sex with different kinds of people, instead of limiting yourself with your wife, and then you go ahead and carry all manner of. You know that the rectum alone has about approximately between 100 billion to 1 trillion microorganisms. And some of them are pathogenic. Some of them are oncogenic. So when you keep putting what is meant for a different place to that place, what do you think happens? You are contracting a lot of diseases. And that is why men are dying young, dying early, and people are beginning to advocate even the cause of the problem to be the solution. So I think we need to advise the public to throw away, discard everything that has been said in that video that has been trending. That's actually why I feel this sense of duty to debunk those things that were said. Thank you. We don't have enough time. There are many facts. There are many journal articles. There are many websites. There are many associations I will encourage. Let them rise up to the occasion and defend the health of the society so that these abuse and assault we are getting from social media quacks will stop. We swore as doctors to defend and protect the health of the society. We should uphold it. Let the associations, let the NMA, let Nigerian Medical Council, the medical associations rise up to it and monitor. Even NBC should check, is this person talking about health? Is he qualified?
Of course. Thank you again. Of course, we hope to do this some other time with you to enlighten people to know what is the fact, what is not the fact about some of the health issues and some of the health myths that are trending, and people are buying it on social media. It's been an enlightening conversation with you, Dr. Ben. We hope that we can have this conversation more often. Thank you for joining us this evening for the program.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you for the opportunity.
The pleasure is ours, sir. And of course, for our viewers, we hope this discussion has shed light on some of the myths associated with prostate cancer, some of the misconceptions. Of course, the key to avoiding prostate cancer is maintaining a healthy and balanced lifestyle. Do not haul yourself around. Stick to one partner, just as Dr. Ben has advised us, and maintain a balanced lifestyle. Open communication with your healthcare professional will help abate the risk of prostate cancer. Thank you all for watching Health Talk today. And until next time, my name is Emmanuel, and I've been doing it with Dr. Ben, the head of the Department of Accidents and Emergencies in the General Hospital in Saudi Arabia. Good evening, and see you all next time.
Thank you, Emma. Goodbye, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, viewers. Thank you. Have a nice day. And I wish you the best of life.